In March, I've seen some of my favorite shows of the year so far, and in this video, I'm going to recap them all alongside the rest of the shows that I've seen in this month. So let's start. Welcome to my channel. My name is Christina, and this is my monthly series where I talk about all the shows that I have seen within a month. If you like the sound of it, I'm going to link my playlist below where you can see the rest of the videos of this kind. But I'm curious to know what are the shows that you have seen in March and which ones are your favorites. Comment below. If you're subscribed to my channel, then you know which is the show that stole my heart in March. If you're not subscribed, now is the time. And that is Much Ado About Nothing with Tom Hiddleston and Hayley Atwell. But this production is not only special because of its cast, but also because of its director and producer, Jamie Lloyd, who is well known for the minimalist style of productions. And while this one is a minimalist Shakespeare take, it is also maximalist in some ways, but I'm gonna get to it in a second. Much Ado About Nothing is also a comedy, one of the most beloved Shakespeare's comedies, and it follows the journey of two people who are seemingly not interested in each other, Beatrice and Benedict, and who, guess what, fall for each other. And this whole journey of their love is really fun and interesting because obviously there are some other people who get involved and who help them see the feelings that they have for each other. And there are so many really exciting and interesting moments within the show and within the play that are delivered spectacularly in this production. It is one of those shows that everyone agreed that it's a 5-star show, and this is not often the case when it comes to Jamie Lloyd productions because Jamie Lloyd always has tendency to deliver these well-known pieces with a completely new spin, and sometimes it works, but some other times people just are not that impressed with it. Whereas like with this show, everyone really loved it, from audience to critics, and this was a raving success. Unfortunately, it is closing in April, so there is not a lot of longevity to this show in terms of it staying in the West End, but it would be interesting to see what happens with it because it is super fun. In its essence, it is a feel-good show about love, and this production really elevates those elements, such as from the moment when you enter into the theater, there are disco lights and you're immediately transported into this kind of club atmosphere where you're listening to these dance classics and pop music and tunes that you know, and everyone is vibing, and people were sometimes dancing or just like sipping their drinks. It really feels like you're in for a night out rather than going to a theater, and that's really something that sets it apart from any show in the West End at the moment. And then because of the nature of the Shakespeare's piece, there is a lot of humor, there are a lot of misunderstood moments. Also, there is a lot of opportunity for the cast to showcase both their comedy and more serious side, and just the whole staging of the show is so vibrant and active. Obviously, we cannot ignore the fact that Tom Hiddleston and Hayley Atwell are in the leading roles for this show, and honestly the chemistry between them is off the charts. I haven't seen either of them on stage before, and maybe I kind of went into the show with a little bit of reservation because they're such acclaimed movie stars and established actors, but the two of them together as a couple in this show are fantastic. They really bounce off of each other's energy so well, and especially because there is that bickering and initial kind of hate and dislike of each other that turns into love. It's so fun to watch their arc develops. The rest of the cast also gels really well together on stage because this is not the first time that they're working on a Jamie Lloyd show. A lot of them were already involved in the production of The Tempest that just closed before Much Ado About Nothing opened. Actors such as James Foon, Mara Huff, Maisie Alexander Park, all of them have been working with Jamie Lloyd for a while now, and this really shows on stage in a way that they're so comfortable in their roles and really experimenting and delivering something new. So the show delivered in so many ways. The set was so fun with a giant heart in the middle of it, and just their interaction with that heart and the confetti that were on stage were so cleverly choreographed that everything from the beginning till the end just made sense and took audiences on a journey that was about 2 hours and 20 minutes long, so not too long, not too short. It was perfect. I think that this show is definitely the one that will stay in my heart as one of the best shows that I have seen this year, but you know, there's still a few months to go, so it might be topped by some other shows that I see later in the year, but this is definitely one of my favorite Jamie Lloyd productions. The second show that I have seen in March is Electra with Brie Larson. If you've been following my videos from the beginning of the year, you can see that there's a bit of a trend with big names making making their West End debuts or returning to stage. And some people argue for it, some people argue against it, but I think it is great to be able to see some of your favorite actors in the West End. And for some people, that is Brie Larson. I personally haven't been really familiar with her work before, but in this show, she really delivers this character of Electra with so much conviction and energy and anger, which is kind of crucial for this Greek story and tragedy to unfold. If you're not familiar with this Sophocles tragedy, Electra is a daughter who is grieving her father who was murdered, and she is trying to revenge him and plot basically how to make this happen. She has a horrible relationship with her mother and her mother's partner, and all of these different family relationships are really intertwined in this production to showcase where this anger comes from and how Electra ended up in this situation. This production of Electra sits somewhere in between modern and traditional take because of Electra that Brie Larson delivered has shaved head and is in her jeans and sneakers and is wearing a t-shirt, and from all of this you can almost place her in some sort of punk rock vibe, whereas the rest of the characters maybe have slightly more traditional clothing, and then it goes all the way to the Greek chorus, which is very much a traditional way to deliver this tragedy. And it is an ensemble of fantastic female singers who really give that more traditional feel to this production, and I do think that they're probably one of the most impressive elements of this show. But when you look at the set, it's very modern and very stripped down and at times very industrial, so there is this kind of ink thing that is going in circles and every now and then makes mark on different characters, and that mark is in black. And you can really see how over the course of the show some people have more of that black ink on them, which is an interesting way to portray this conflict between Electra and pretty much the rest of the world. This production of Electra definitely offers a new and distinct take on this established tragedy. It was also interesting to see that the lights in the auditorium were not completely turned off, but there was a bit of a dimmed light which kind of made the conversation between Electra and the audience feel closer. It really felt like we're just like extension of the set. I was sitting in the stalls and the whole stage felt really close, and the actors on stage as well. So for the fans of Brie Larson, this is definitely a show where seeing her is totally worth it. I can't say that this is my favorite show of the year so far, but I'm glad that I checked it out. I'm pleased to say that the third show that I've seen in March is a musical. I don't think I've been seeing enough musicals this year, so I really hope that I increase the number of musicals I see in April. But let's talk about Clueless, which is the musical adaptation of the well-established chick flick from the 90s, which a lot of people like. I personally am not a massive fan of this movie, and I think this has maybe colored also the way that I have perceived this musical, but this is by no means a bad musical or a bad night at the theater. Quite on the contrary, I think it is really fun and enjoyable to watch, but I do think that how much you're gonna like Clueless the musical, it really depends on how much you like this movie, because it is very much a movie to musical adaptation. In some cases it is also using the dialogue from the movie, so I think for anyone who wants to celebrate the iconic movie, this is gonna be the best night. For the rest of us, it could be just a fun night at the theater, and I'm totally down for it. So as mentioned, this musical is following the exact story from the movie, and it follows Cher, who is in high school, and you can see her interact with her friends, with her family, and she's pretty much trying to orchestrate other people's lives without actually noticing what is happening in her own. And obviously it is that kind of story that has a happy ending where she ends up with the guy that she likes. But everything in between is colored with really fun exchanges between the characters, really engaging songs and dancey tunes. They have really fun costumes. A lot of them are tartan patterns in true Cher's style. So a lot of the things that you see in the musical are iconic elements from the movie as well. The cast is phenomenal, especially Emma Flynn, who is playing Cher. She is the star of the show. She's on stage the most, and her numbers are the ones that are driving the show, and also her character is pretty much so crucial to delivering telling this story, and she does this spectacularly. Also, Keelan McCauley, who is playing Josh, is very believable, and he has one fantastic number when he's talking about his love for Cher. And there's a lot of humor and wit that has been added to Josh's character, and I think in the musical he's almost taking a slightly more prominent role than he has in the movie. You can see Clueless at the Trafalgar Theatre until the end of September of 2025, so there's plenty of time to book this show. Tickets go for as low as £25, so it is also one of the more affordable ones that you can go and check out, and I would 100% recommend to go and see this new musical. I'm so happy that I finally managed to see this show as my 4th show in March. I've been for a while wanting to go and see it because this is the show that has received so many awards and accolades, but somehow I never managed to book it when it was previously in London, and that is My Neighbour Totoro. My Neighbour Totoro is for the 3rd time back in London, and it is now in the West End until March 2026, which is great news because this is a show that is definitely worth of your attention. This is a perfect show for all generations and something that will really bring family and friends and loved ones together in what I think is a pretty spectacular night at the theater. So let me tell you why this show is so special. My Neighbour Totoro is based on the animated movie of the same name, which was released in 1988 by Studio Ghibli, so quite a long time ago, but the story makes it evergreen and resonant even to this day. It follows 2 daughters and their father who move to the Japanese countryside so they can be closer to their mother who is in the hospital, and this is where the story starts unfolding. The house they're moving into is in the village known as the haunted house, but because daughters are so young, especially May who is 4, they don't see this as something scary, but they really embrace the weirdness of the house and make it their own, truly allowing their imagination to take them wherever it wants. And it takes May to the forest where she meets Totoro, this wonderful big fluffy giant, and she becomes friends with him and all of the creatures surrounding him. Basically, May gets completely involved in this magical world that she has made up for herself in this new place where she lives. And through these adventures, we see the world through May's eyes, and it really helps you reconnect with the child in you in the most magical and beautiful way. So besides this wonderful story that you will witness in front of you, the staging of this show is unlike anything that I've seen before. It relies quite a lot on puppets to deliver this magical world that May creates in her head, but these are not puppets like you've seen maybe in some other shows. These are the biggest, the most amazing, the most wonderful puppets that have just such soul to them, and they're so fun to watch, and the whole set is kind of designed to really allow the puppeteer masters to move through the show and choreograph the spectacle of magic which you can experience. So from that perspective, this is quite a unique experience which will take you on a journey and back, and you will leave the theater with a big smile on your face. The set is beautiful, and even the musicians are living in these little tree houses on the stage, and the music in this show really takes you on a journey on its own and complements the story so nicely. And this is not a coincidence because Joe Hisaishi, who wrote the music for the animated movie, is the person behind the music in the show and is also one of the key drivers of this stage adaptation. So they've done a brilliant job of taking this magical world of My Neighbour Totoro and bringing it to stage and giving it in a way new life for fresh audiences as well as the existing fans, because I'm sure that whoever goes to see this production will leave being impressed by it, which is the best thing because it's not an easy one to adapt on stage. The best news is that My Neighbour Totoro is going nowhere. It's going to be at the Gillian Lynne Theatre for a while, and you can grab tickets for as low as £15. So I hope I convinced you to go and check it out. And the last show that I've seen in March is The Seagull at the Barbican, starring Cate Blanchett, Tom Burke, Emma Corrin, truly a star-studded cast, and I really enjoyed it. It is a very established play by Anton Chekhov, but I haven't had a chance to see it before, so going to see it was a very new experience to me, but I am sure that for anyone who's seen The Seagull before, this production offered something quite different. Starting from the set that in the middle of it had a bit bit of a cornfield, and they used this to enter and exit the stage, which was always interesting because you would see some ruffling in the background and then an actor would appear from there. And then there was also this like big screen that would just like change the tones of different colors depending on the mood in the show. So the set was a really weird mixture of modern and that countryside vibe, but it really worked. And I think the main reason for it is the direction that the actors head. Zachary Hart opens the show with a few songs on the guitar and a stand-up comedy style conversation with the audience. And just from there, they slide into the show and talking about art and theater and the importance of it or lack of importance. And from there, it feels like you are witnessing people on stage having a conversation, waiting for this show to start, and just discussing life and importance of art and their dysfunctional families and things that are happening in their life. So despite this being set in a big Barbican theater, it really felt intimate, and at times that audience is very much involved in the show. As mentioned, the cast in the show is very much full of big stars and celebrities, led by Cate Blanchett, who is playing Irina Arkadina. Her character in this show is this established actress who is very self-indulgent and self-centered. She doesn't really care about the world around her and is very much trying to take center stage as much as she can, despite her son craving for her attention and approval because he's trying to establish himself as a playwright. Cate Blanchett really delivers a range of emotions in the show, and you really are witnessing a diva on stage. She's phenomenal, especially because there is always that need to strike a balance between comedy and sometimes dark humor and really deep, borderline tragic feelings that her character is experiencing. Cate Blanchett is playing opposite of Tom Burke in this show, who is this writer and is bringing a lot of that creative thinking and process and just questioning of the art versus artist and how do artists go about creating, and is this important or not, and how does he feel about it all. And he is then in love with Nina, played by Emma Corrin, who delivers this character with a lot of naivety at first, and then it slides into Nina being completely disappointed by how her life has turned out. The Seagull is one of those existential plays that opens up so many questions for the audience but doesn't really close many of them. It kind of leaves you lingering in that limbo, but ultimately it is a really engaging show to watch with a lot of interesting solutions and a cast that I don't think they will get to assemble again, which is a bit of an issue because this has been a very limited run, only 5 weeks at the Barbican, and the tickets sold out immediately. I managed to get my ticket last minute for about £100, which is quite a lot, but I did it because I really wanted to see Cate Blanchett and I did not regret it. But I don't think that this show will get extended or transferred. Maybe I'm wrong, but it was definitely a great one to witness and a really good one to wrap up my March theater outings with. Another great month of theater behind me, and I'm really excited for what April has in store, so stay tuned. But if you're interested in seeing my other videos for January and February, you can check out the playlist here.